Hello, hello. This is Marcus with the Wesleyville Borough, and I am here with
Mark Corey, the borough engineer.
yeah. And you might remember, we were out here only a couple months ago before they started all the work here, and we have some updates and a little bit of some unfortunate updates on Euclid here, where they were working between Station and Willow. So let's start by, I guess, what's going well, or kind of the standard thing is they pretty much did all the work they needed to do. There's a couple spots on closer to the final inspection here that, some things settled, like they cambered the lines, some things settled the way they didn't super like. So they have to come back in and do a spot or two. Now that's pretty much standard for
Sure.
a project like this. So you'll be seeing them mobilize in here once again and do a little bit of work. There's that, but let's talk about the unfortunate piece. And let's start by, we put concrete down, and our thinking was, big picture, we already have a grant. We know we're going to be doing this next year. Full reconstruction, full depth, fixing the base all the way, new curbs, everything, new stormwater. So we know we're going to be doing that next year anyways. And because of that, I was trying to go cheap. I was making him go cheap too. And we said, instead of putting down, like, what would a standard, when they typically rip up the middle of the road and rip up the sewer laterals, what do they typically put back? What's like the gold standard?
Sure, and we've done that on other streets where we've replaced sewer lines throughout the borough. It would be a 6-inch gravel subbase with 6 inches of asphalt pavement.
So 6 inches of asphalt. Now, what does that cost on a project like this overall?
Our estimate was $40,000 to $50,000, and that's typical that a sewer line replacement project, the pavement restoration component is significant money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, 40 to 50,000 of 6 inches of asphalt that would have been down the middle here. Now, the thing is, it's not like, oh, well, we put 6 inches of asphalt down. Now we only have to focus on the other areas next year. You pretty much have to come through and rip everything back up and regrade it and do all this. So we would have spent 40 to 50,000 and then had to rip it all up at the end of the day.
That's right.
Next year. So what we figured to do instead was, and you've had success with this in other situations, was, this trench here is just loaded up with gravel. Everybody who lives here saw truckload after truckload after truckload of gravel being dumped into these trenches. Gravel's all the way up, and then it's 2 inches of concrete. So
Right.
we figured this could get us through a year. And maybe it would crack here and there, but generally it would have structural integrity and it would just get us through a year. You've seen success with that. But what's going on here? Why is this not working?
Well, you can see even the concrete we're standing on is perfectly stable and not cracked, but the areas that we found that are failing is as a result of stormwater getting into that gravel, saturating the gravel, and with any settlement or movement of that gravel subbase, the concrete is cracking, and we're seeing evidence of those failures in several locations.
Yep. Yeah.
And again, without that saturated subbase, this temporary restoration would be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the temporary restoration would have worked just fine here, but really the problem is when it was raining like crazy yesterday, the water, this whole block doesn't really have good stormwater drainage. So the water was just kind of sitting, and then it would end up saturating. And each one of these cracks here, the cracks in the concrete, the water saturates down in. And then once it gets down here, it gets underneath of this and then completely compromises the structural integrity of that concrete patch. So it would have worked, but given the circumstances here, unfortunately it won't. So what do we do now?
So recognizing that this could continue throughout the winter, which would be a real problem under the worst conditions to make repairs, we're going to replace the temporary concrete with a limestone base gravel that will compact like concrete. It should be just fine, without having a concrete or an asphalt surface through the winter. There's a chance that some potholes may develop, but we'll have material on site that your streets department can come out and patch any potholes that become a nuisance during the winter. So we hope to go through the winter with little to no maintenance. We may have some maintenance, and expecting this road reconstruction project to not start perhaps until next summer. We've got 8 or 9 months to get through, and we
Yeah.
think that that limestone surface will be the best and the most cost effective at this point.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, when you hear it's a limestone surface, or, you know, it's kind of like a gravel, but it's not going to be loose gravel as you may imagine. It's going to be, this stuff is very tight, packed once it gets there, and it's as close to concrete without being concrete, right? Is that what you're, in terms of the surface being
I
packed
won't say
down?
it's like concrete, but it will compact, and it will mimic a concrete surface. But it is a limestone-based gravel.
Yes, and we could have done that from the beginning, but we really wanted to. We know we weren't going to do asphalt. We didn't quite want to go to gravel and just have you all have to live with, you know, a limestone type thing for months. So we wanted to do concrete, but clearly that's not working here. So we are reverting back to having to do the gravel bit. Now that said, if you're wondering, you know, the cost of putting down this concrete, finding out it didn't work, and actually doing this R19 or limestone gravel now, even the cost of them coming back and ripping this all up and putting down the gravel, we're still net positive. We still save money from if we would have done the 6 inches of asphalt, because the 6 inches of asphalt, yeah, 50,000 or so, and would have all been ripped up anyways. So you'll be seeing them back out here. I know all the people living on Euclid were happy to see that they were done. Finally, there were plenty of people saying, hey, it's noisy and everything. We understand that, so apologize for the inconvenience there. But they'll be back here a little bit longer just to really get this figured out. And you'll see it.
Starting next week.
Starting next week, yes. They will be on Monday getting back in here and starting to do these things. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity. Ultimately we're trying to save money here. And because we know that there's going to be a project next year, we don't want to put something down that we're going to rip up. So we tried something, but given the extenuating circumstances, with, you know, stormwater problems, and that's really just a feature of the road. And we know that's a feature of the road because when they were digging, it was all wet underneath of here, which that's not standard for a road. It's supposed to be, a road is supposed to shed water. So when they're digging it up and it's all saturated underneath, that's not a good sign, certainly. So we're having some problems up here, but we will get it fixed and we will get through next year. So please be patient with us on that. Hopefully this gave you some clarity. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to the office. Otherwise, thank you, Mark, for, you know, coming out and
You're welcome.
Giving us an explanation here. Have a good one.